All right, welcome to another episode of Tangled Rights.
Episode 44. 44. Here we are. We're here. Go Raiders.
We're here. What's up, guy that we can't mention who's our friend?
We have a
witness.
Somebody watching.
Witness me.
We are attorneys. We are Las Vegas-based attorneys. We practice in Nevada. Justin also licensed in the state of Kansas.
And tomorrow morning, practicing there.
Oh.
Remotely.
Okay.
Via this thing. Got an appearance in Chautauqua County, Kansas.
Okay. This is not intended to be legal advice. We are not your attorneys, unless, of course, we already are.
Then we do have a relationship. But if not, we don't.
But
we could.
Contact your local attorney for legal advice.
Or ask us, and we will create
one for you.
A lawyer-client relationship.
Yeah.
And help
for the proper consideration, which means
correct
money. Skrilla,
dog. And we'll untangle your rights.
All right. First one is one you sent me. Okay.
Yes.
L.A. County area. L.A. County.
There's always shenanigans coming out of there.
Juvenile jail of sorts. Okay.
Yep.
So there's an accusation that in this area that the probation officers, because it's not jail. We've talked before about how juvenile isn't quite criminal. It's civil, but you do get detained, but it's more of a probation, and most things fall off your record unless you're tried as an adult, as we say, certified here in Nevada. I don't know what it's called in California, but within this jail system or juvenile hall, Los Padrinos Juvenile Hall, there was allegedly probation officers that were allowing or encouraging or even pushing these teens to have fights. Gladiator style fights is what the headline was anyway. So, Justin, you wanted to talk about that a little bit. We watched the video. There's one video of one kid who kind of in turn gets challenged to fights, or it looked really weird.
Yeah, it was kind of strange.
It's like a 10-minute video and like a string of different kids coming up to him.
And it was super short. It wasn't like, hey, you two are going to fight. Let's wait till somebody wins. It was like
5-10 seconds.
You come up, throw a punch. He ducks under. He does a couple of great duck unders. And if he knew what he was doing, he could really slam him hard. And then that breaks the fight up. And there's also there was two security or corrections officers like behind him. One right next to him. The woman was on the other side by the other desk that the kids were sitting at. Like they would go sit there. It was weird. And like periodically she'd step in between them and like stop it. But the strange part for me was that they didn't let it keep going, but they also didn't make it stop because it just kept happening. Every time someone else would walk by him, or then those other two dudes started to fight, it's like, okay, at what point? Because like in prison, right, with when something happens, whether it be simple like a fight or a stabbing, like that one case we've got right now, they shut everything down, put people back in their cells, isolate them to stop any further escalation, right?
Yeah,
because it's not just going to stop. Like once people get to where they're amped up or hyped, they're going to just keep doing what they're doing.
Yeah.
Unless you quash it. And so it was really weird. They're like, all right, you fight the kid and here's your lunch. Go sit down.
Yeah. Like throw a couple punches, then go get your food and sit down.
It almost made it. And the crap thing is you can't hear the audio, but it almost made it seem like it was like, all right, you're not going to get your food until you hit him. Almost. And I'm obviously reading into it here, but how many of them went and fought him that got their lunch right afterwards?
Like 5, yeah.
Yeah, so it makes it look like it's like, hey, go punch that dude and then you can have your food.
At least half of them. So this was the first video that came out that kind of brought this to the media attention. And then there's been a few since, and then there are now some criminal charges.
That's
which was
the other
recent
part that I mentioned that's super weird. Like, they know that these cameras are there. The security guards. Security guards.
Probation
corrections officers.
Yeah.
The corrections officers know they're being recorded. It's a day room. It's like, so I can't feature why they would do this. Right? It's like robbing a bank and then waiting.
Yeah, I don't know. So the kid that's getting beat up, a few times, he is awaiting sentencing or trial or something in his case, and he petitions the court that he feels unsafe, and based on this video, he's allowed to not be in custody until his sentencing or trial. So he's OR'd, let out on his own recognizance. We use the term OR a lot for that. So he's let out, and there's more investigation into this, and it turns out that there's at least 70 fights that they can pinpoint that they believe are being kind of instigated by the officers for their entertainment, I guess. I mean, Justin, you do contact sports, and sometimes, boxing or fighting or something can be a good way to get out
100%.
aggression or, physical activity.
Yeah.
So,
but there's rules, right?
yeah, there's people that want to participate in it.
Sure.
When they do that anyway.
Like, we go to jiu-jitsu, Austin and I see each other in class, we roll together. If I, put him in a rear naked choke and choke him, he's going to tap. That's what we're signing up for. We're in there, we know that that's going to happen. That's not a violation of the rules, it's not a battery. Because battery is a harmful or offensive contact, right? However, if in jiu-jitsu class, I was to slap Austin in the face or something like that, like strike him, which is above our threshold of physical touching, then not only is it actionable criminally, but it's also actionable civilly.
So if you were to come into somebody's law office and somebody else does jujitsu and you try to, roll with them right there and you're grabbing at them?
Unless it's like...
Probably just shouldn't do that, right?
Probably not, yeah.
Okay. All right.
Why? Why'd you...
I was just wondering if somebody started grabbing at another person without their consent, you
always need consent.
Okay, cool. Good to know. All right. Important. Okay. All right, we'll talk about some...
But the point to that is, like, once you exceed whatever the threshold is, right, then you can get sued. But that also goes for, like, MMA. For example...
Yes.
I have MMA practice tonight, and it's sparring. So it's light sparring. We're not going crazy hard. Even if Austin, like, if he was in class and we were going and he punched me we're supposed to go like 20 to 30%. The idea is you're not knocking your training partner out, but you're giving them a real look so they can kind of understand how to move, how to adapt, or whatever.
Like a warm-up.
Sort of like a warm-up, but it's more tactical situation. Like, you're learning how to counter, you're learning how to move your feet properly. Let's say he hits me at 60%. That's not really a violation. But if he does something crazy, like punches me in the back of the head, which is completely off limits in no universe, and in amateur, you're not even allowed to elbow. So let's say we're sparring and he throws a jab and leads it straight into a horizontal elbow. Like, I'm not expecting that because we're in amateur practice. You're not allowed to elbow. And even in class, they talk about it. They're like, yeah, you probably shouldn't because, you're not allowed. But for the guys that are trying to go pro, if they're practicing together, sometimes they'll do stuff that's like, hey, we agree. We're going to do things because we're trying to get to that next level. Whereas if he just elbowed me in the face, not okay. Even though I've agreed to let him kick and punch me. So it's always kind of like a weird, I don't even know what to call it. It's like a fiction. Like, we're suspending reality for a second and saying that this is okay and this isn't.
Hey, and that's sports, and
But this is not sports. This is incarceration.
This is incarceration. We don't believe that they've signed up for this. They're going to say, no matter what, that they have not. And that they're coerced into that by adults who, by the way, are standing by and just watching this is the weird part. They're just standing there watching this kid get beat up, and like after 5 seconds, only one will go in and be like, okay, good, go get your food. So kind of a super weird situation. This is where the distrust of society comes from, is situations like these where
absolutely.
You see, just the ugliness of...
Well, and it's also like, I know that they're criminals, right? They're charged with a crime. They're in custody.
Juvenile. It's not crimes, right? It's not.
Well,
it's not.
It's still a crime.
It's
just
delinquency.
You're not judged guilty. You're judged delinquent. At least here, I don't know what it is in California, but it's still a crime, right? There's a revised statute code,
right?
Whatever. But the point is that, like, they're children, right?
That's
why they're in a special place and they have special rules and they get to go to high school still and all these things. So it's weird when you have somebody who's like violating the trust that's put on them to be caretakers of kids.
Right. And there needs to be some intense training or protocols put in place in
prison.
Los Padrinos specifically.
Prison for those people.
Yeah. Well,
I mean,
they're facing criminal charges,
they'll
right?
never be in that field again. I mean, I would imagine they're not, well, I say I would imagine, but how many times have you heard of a cop that does something crazy, or a corrections officer, and then
moves counties,
move to, Podunk, wherever. Oh, cool. And then they end up stabbing somebody or something. I don't know. Whatever. We're all human and we're all fallible, whether you're a cop or not.
Staying within California and staying within the California corrections facilities, okay? Remember Scott Peterson? You hear those words that might prompt something in your
Lacey
brain.
Peterson.
Lacey Peterson is his wife, who he was convicted of killing, and their unborn child. That
She was pregnant.
She was pregnant at the time as well. Kind of, I mean, not like a crazy case, but for some reason got a lot of notoriety. He was,
What was the name of that case? State versus
Peterson?
It's a California case. It says that you get two murders.
You get 2 murders for the unborn child.
If you kill in the case, and it's first year criminal law, it's just randomly popping in my brain. If you kill someone who's pregnant, and they called it the quickening, like when the fetus has quickened, and I believe that's like viability or close to viability. That it's 2. You get 2 counts.
Yeah.
So if you kill the mom and kill the kid too.
And he had a long legal history that we can get into later, where his sentence was vacated at one point. He was not sentenced to the death penalty, or sentenced to the death penalty, and then that was taken away. There's some stuff there in California. Yeah. So, I mean, this was maybe that was the reason it was such a popular one, is because the death penalty was on the table and actually was ordered at one point, but taken away at another point. Anyway, the sport of pickleball.
You love that sport.
Yeah, sure. The sport of pickleball has entered America, and guess what? It is within our prison system now, and some of our prison detainees are playing pickleball actively. Scott Peterson was in the news this week because he was playing pickleball. He did what we call a body bag, or he hit the ball and hit another player.
That's called a body bag?
They call it a body bag.
Just you're smacking them with the ball?
You hit the ball so fast that it hits them in their body, So the kitchen line, or non-volley line, is 7 feet away from the net. So the person should be at least 14 feet away from you. Some people have lost vision, from getting hit by a pickleball in the eye. But the other person he was playing with, the other inmate, took exception to this, and there was a fight, and Scott Peterson got assaulted within the prison because of hitting somebody with a pickleball. These are just the stories you'd never think. It's about the size of a tennis ball. It's like a wiffle ball. It's hard and has holes in it.
But is it like light?
Yeah. Okay. I mean, it's ounces. Like it's pretty light, but it can go fast enough. Like there have been people who have hit your eye. Sure. I don't know if it hit this guy's eye. I don't know if it could break your nose, but your eyes are very sensitive. People have lost, broken their orbital socket or stuff over this.
Sometimes when you're shooting steel targets,
be careful. Eye protection. Eye protection.
It's critical, isn't it? I looked something up real quick. There was a case in '94 where the California Supreme Court held that it wasn't viability that was required under 187 subsection A. They said, and this overturned 18 years of California appellate jurisprudence. Basically, it says if it's progressed beyond the embryonic stage, so 7 to 8 weeks, that's the standard in California anyway for going from single murder to
single count to double. Okay. So my question with this pickleball, because we're getting into what people will agree to, what terms you agree to. Jiu-jitsu is a lot different than pickleball. At a pickleball court, they're kind of just open. And so you could get a young, really good player, in his 30s who can hit the ball really hard.
Is young?
Versus
in pickleball?
In pickleball terms, yeah. Okay. Compared to an old lady, let's say in her 70s, who doesn't have a quick reaction. They could be playing against each other.
So is it just like any basketball court or whatever, you show up and just play?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's like a place you can put your paddle and you just kind of like go in line.
That's interesting. It's like pool.
It's a little different. Yeah, it's
you put your quarters next to the.
It's like a social. It's not a difficult sport either. It's not difficult on your body. It's a small court.
Sure.
So
people love it though.
What if a guy, 30-year-old young guy, let's say me, who can hit the tar out of the ball? Yeah, okay. I hit the ball hard. What if I'm just swinging away? I hit a lady and she's like, "Don't do that again," and I just keep swinging and I hit her again and I cause enough to like leave a mark on her body. Is there at any point could that be a battery?
So, in this hypothetical, do we have the benefit of third-person omniscient?
Sure.
So I can ask questions about your intent?
Okay, sure.
Are you just trying to play the game?
What if yes, but
Okay.
she's pissing me off, so I
You're just playing harder. Okay.
I win the point if it hits her. I win the point.
Is that within the rules of pickleball?
Yeah,
That's allowable.
it's allowable, but I mean, there's subsections
So-
of people who believe that that's fair play, and some who think that's not fair play.
But what do the
like any
rules say?
sport, you are allowed to hit somebody. Yeah,
Then if it's within the rules, and we're talking about like, I'm going to look at it through the civil tort side and then the criminal side. If it's within the rules and she got on the court, then she acquiesced to the rules happening, which not great. I mean, you are a douchebag in this hypothetical. Like, I'm facing a lady who could be my mom, smack her in the face. Like, what? But it doesn't sound like it's probably a battery. Now, the weird part for me is the intent, right? If you're saying like she's pissing me off, but like I think about rugby, and there were times dudes would do something crazy, and I'm like, okay, normally I'm just going to tackle whatever. I'm going to make sure I secure the guy, secure the ball, but this time I'm going to try and hit him hard. It's within the rules.
yeah.
It's not really violating anything. You're just mad.
All right. We have an example. We have a video of something that's obviously going to be against the rules in pickleball
this is that one?
context.
Oh, yeah.
This happens in Mexico. Austin's going to insert the video here.
Right meow.
Come on! Let's go! Fuck yeah!
All right. So we watch the video. It's people that are obviously too into pickleball. They're playing a tournament in Mexico. So, Justin, you can't be charged for any crime that you commit, a simple battery or whatever.
No jurisdiction.
There's no jurisdiction.
Yep.
You could get charged in Mexico, I guess. And
Which is the
taken to
bigger
jail.
problem here.
I'd have a problem with that. I don't want to be charged in Mexico.
Who knows what they're going to do?
I have no idea.
Were they Americans?
I believe so. Yeah, I know.
What an idiot.
The guy that got kicked, he posted the video.
Okay.
Okay, so he came out.
He posted it?
He posted it, and he
Hey,
said,
look at me get knocked out.
He said, "Hey, I'm sorry. I did get worked up. I accidentally hit the paddle out of his hand."
That's what it looked like.
So for you audio listeners, this video kind of popped up in pickleball circles a few months ago, but he is too excited over winning the match. He goes to shake hands. Pickleball has this weird thing where you like touch the butts of paddles against each other to congratulate each other. Instead of tennis handshake, golf handshake, other sports handshake.
Or like go down the line, slap hands, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. They hit the butt of the paddle. Not even the like top end of the paddle, the butt of the paddle.
Like the handle.
Yeah. You like hold it on the weird
Whatever.
thing.
Okay.
Some people do that. That was like the early
Nerds.
stages, and some people just high five or whatever. So the guy who wins kind of hits the paddle out of the other guy's hand, and then he reaches over the net to go pick it up, and reaches down. And while he does that, the guy whose paddle got knocked out kicks him square in the face, like square in the jaw,
Right on the button. Right underneath the front of his chin.
knocks him out. He falls over. For our audio listeners, just so you're aware, that in my opinion, if that was charged as a battery here, I would see it. Yes, that is a valid battery claim. Even with heightened emotions, that is the test is whether it's in the scope of the game.
And that is not. The game's ended.
The game has ended at
And
that point.
I don't believe, correct me if I'm wrong
You
here.
cannot kick the ball.
Well, you can't kick people in the face in pickleball, right?
No.
Oh, okay, cool.
No, I guess
No
it's
head
not
kicks.
technically against the rules.
No
but,
head kicks. All right. Well,
yeah.
I bet you there's a rule that says no physical contact with the body of another.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
Which covers this.
Yeah.
But also the game had ended. They were just congratulating each other. The thing that's dumb about it is that it looked like it was his right hand, like he was trying to slap his hand, and he was just too, like you said, excited, and he knocked it out. And as soon as it fell, he goes to reach for it and bends over and just
puts
presents
himself-
his face.
Ugh.
Bow.
Yeah, and then his partner did not stick up. That's what you pointed out.
That's what I was
if
like,
that
if-
ever happened to you, I
You
have
better
to,
do something. I'm be pissed.
And that was a tiny little bald man, and they should have went after him.
Well, he
because
just runs over and he's like yelling in his face. Screw that. If I get knocked out, you better not talk.
I'm swinging.
You better punch him square in the mouth.
All right, I'll pick up some Mexico charges. You got to bond me out though, or whatever.
Hell yeah.
whatever you got to do.
Just bribe them. Give them
whoever you
$100.
gotta pay the pesos to.
Well,
Yeah.
wait. Actually, that might not be a good idea right now.
Why?
The political climate between like tariffs and all that crap that's going on.
Maybe they'd make an example. I
Yeah,
don't know.
fucking look at Brittany Griner.
That was crazy.
I know it was crazy, but the point is, like, in certain countries at certain times, you can get away with things that at other times they're going to do whatever the law allows.
So we're leading into baseball season now, which is somewhere where I think this comes up even more than basketball. Is
Basketball?
pitchers
Wiffle ball. Or
well,
pickleball.
you were talking about
Oh,
Brittany
basketball.
Griner,
Yeah,
basketball
sure,
player.
sure.
Pitchers hitting batters. Okay, there are unwritten rules in baseball that are holier than baseball, and that comes into play. Some managers don't believe in them. Some managers do. Okay, so hitting a batter, if you hit my guy, I have to hit one of your guys. Okay, That's kind of their idea. They can always say, "Oh, it slipped out of my hand. I didn't mean to hit him." So you can hide behind that intentionality a little more in baseball, where everybody thinks, no, that's not true. You hit our guy, we're going to hit your guy. We know that's coming and that's on purpose. I've never, ever heard of a baseball player being prosecuted for anything like that. But that's even more dangerous than, getting hit by a pickleball. These guys are throwing heavy baseballs 100 miles per hour. That could kill you. Like, if you get hit wrong, that could kill you. So I think that's interesting. I've heard,
just, at very least, crush your face.
I've heard of also, there's some case law of some injuries happening in basketball. Okay, I heard one that went up in front of the Utah Supreme Court that was Mormon church basketball, where somebody decks somebody, but they say, he says, "Oh, I was just trying to foul him, do an intentional foul, so he goes to the free throw line."
But that's
which
a
is part of the
strategy
game.
part of the
Which is a
game.
strategy part of the game. So the Utah Supreme Court decided, you agreed to the sport, and that's part of the rules of the sport. That's something that you could have reasonably anticipated in the sport. So we use this phrase in law, okay, about when people agree to certain rules. And that what's the phrase again? When you agree to participate, you like anticipate the fear. Reasonable, and what's it called? We were just talking about this before. No, I can't.
Like acquiescing to.
Yeah.
It's just mutual combat. It's the same kind of thing. It's like, hey, I'm
no, there's a
participating.
legal term for it.
I don't fucking know.
Mm.
Words. Yeah. I can't remember everything, dude. But this actually, while you're looking that up, made me think of one. There was a rivalry. It was West Indies versus England in cricket. And I don't know anything about cricket because I think it's dumb. But this one is crazy because I guess when they bowl, when they pitch, there's a way that they can bowl because it has to like bounce or something.
Yeah.
Where every time it bounces, it will hit the batter in the face. Like it will bounce and hit him in the face. Unhittable. And back in the 70s, there was a rivalry between West Indies and England. And it was just like, hey, we're going to try.
And those things can bounce where you don't like anticipate them too, right?
And they're, as big around as a softball, but they're like hard. So the whole thing was these guys were purposely, like you talked about pitchers purposely hitting each other or whatever. They were trying to mess each other up. Back in the day with no face shields, none of that stuff. It's one of those interesting sports, what do you call it, rivalries or whatever, where it was just like, they're trying to hurt each other outside the bounds of the game.
Assumption of risk.
Yes.
Assumption of risk, yeah. All right, so the phrase is assumption of risk. You assume the risk. So it's basically the risk when you go in and you reasonably assume that risk, okay?
Yep.
So that's the legal terminology. I'm sorry, we got to remember some of these, but when we hear them, then it's like, oh yeah, we have read a lot of case law on that side.
Words are hard.
One that was in the news this week, I showed you, okay? This is in Lynchburg, Virginia, a girl by the name of Layla Everett, okay? She was running some kind of relay race, had a baton in her hand, okay? I saw it first because Layla Everett wanted to get in front of everything, so she released a video basically saying, I didn't mean to do this, feel sorry for me, think of everyone coming after me.
I saw something about this before you told me about
She
it.
was crying, she was just real sad, and all the comments are coming in saying, okay, like, let me see the video. Oh, no, I don't feel sorry for you at all.
Yeah.
So Layla Everett was running a race, and Her opponent was in right to
The
her
two
right.
lane. Yeah.
The 2 lane. I think she's in the 1 lane. Whatever. She's just in the
Either
lane
the, either
immediately
the
to her
2
right.
or the 5, depending upon whether they count from the outside or the inside. I perfectly don't remember.
Just to her right, you've seen people run and they do wave their arms, in races like this.
I mean, yeah, but her arms were here down at her waist, pumping normal. And then all of a sudden she just kind of flailed and boop,
and bopped this girl right in the head.
right in the back of the head.
Who was
passing her.
Supposedly has a concussion. Didn't look like it was a big hit. We'll insert the video of what is now being charged as a battery, right? Here.
This happened while junior Kaylin Tucker was running the second leg of the 4x200 relay in the Virginia State High School League Championships. In the video, you see the two sprinters side by side as they round the corner with Kaylin on the outside. Well, just as Kaylin is passing the other runner, the athlete swings her baton, striking Kaylin. The 16-year-old was later diagnosed with a concussion.
Yeah, I mean, so on that, I definitely, when I watch it, it looks intentional because I'm going from based on how her movements have been the entire time. And runners don't break stride. It's not like, oh, I'm going to switch my stride because I'm at the 50. You just bear down and you do it faster.
She did say she was falling and trying to catch herself, which maybe you do it. The more I watch it, the more I'm like, maybe.
She didn't pitch forward at all.
No.
Like a lot of times when you see him fall.
It was just coming out of a turn.
Just coming off the turn, I get it. But she was hugging the inside too. I feel like you'd have gone left instead of right.
And there's nothing that came out that these girls have any history either.
The thing that strikes me as strange, and I'm not saying it wouldn't be a battery anyway, right? Because I believe looking at it, it looks like it was intentional. I ran track, and unless those batons are different, they're light. The point is it's not a heavy thing. Like it has to be as light as possible so that it doesn't interfere with the runners, but that way we can tell who has it so we can measure the race, right? It's aluminum. It's like an ounce, 2 max.
So not a deadly weapon because I've never lifted
unless
one
I
of these.
smashed it up and like stuffed it down your throat. No, but if I'm just bopping you on the head with it, dude, it'd be like getting hit with a wiffle ball bat.
I mean,
go for it.
Supposedly the girl was diagnosed with a concussion, which I was surprised by because she didn't hit her head, fall into the ground.
No,
because she does stumble. The girl that gets hit does stumble and goes into the interior.
Yeah, I don't know.
Inside tracks here, and
maybe it's not the kind of baton I'm thinking of, like that we ran with. Maybe it's a different kind of baton, and maybe it's made of titanium and it's heavy and has metal spikes or something. I don't know, but it just okay, cool. She got hit, yeah, sure. Maybe it threw her off her stride. She loses the race, but like, get out of here with that.
So you see it as yes, this is a battery,
sure,
and she's charged with the battery now.
Right, but the battery doesn't require a certain amount of injury. The battery just requires the contact being harmful or offensive.
And I didn't see if she's charged as an adult or as a minor. She's 16, 17. It's high school.
No, but was it like a special race or was it just any other race? It wasn't like state championships or something crazy?
Yeah, I don't know. All right, well.
It's a weird one.
When you're playing sports, be careful.
Well, when you're playing.
You assume risk going into them.
But also don't be a douche when you're playing. If you're getting beat, just get beat. Be faster.
Speaking of douchebag sports stars, let's talk about Le'Veon Bell. You guys know who Le'Veon Bell is? Anybody? Yeah?
Who's Le'Veon Bell? Austin.
Yeah, okay. All right.
What position?
What position does he play? Yeah, Austin knows.
What team?
What team was he on for the most years? No, never. All right. Le'Veon Bell got sued in Columbus, Ohio area. This is my Columbus Clippers hat. They have a Hispanic night, the Valeros. That's why it's a skull.
Why has it got a sugar skull on it?
It's got a sugar skull because
whatever. They do
just make Spanish
things.
fun stuff. It's a cool sugar skull with a C and some bats and baseball bats.
That hat was $30.
And I like the colors. I don't know how much.
Look under the brim.
That's the $39.99. That's the MSRP. I got it on sale.
Hell yeah.
All right. So Le'Veon Bell is being accused by his cousin, Jada Bell, who's also a podcaster, of sexually assaulting her as a young woman.
How old is she?
From the age of 5 to 6 until she turned 18.
How old is she now?
She's in her 20s now.
Okay.
So Le'Veon Bell had a great career for himself, made millions of dollars as a football star, kind of famously sat out 1 year of his contract in order to make more money and was one of the few that was successful in that. Ended up getting a huge contract after he left the Steelers, going with the Jets.
Jesus Christ.
Is that how much money he made? Are you looking at his career earnings?
I was trying to look at net worth, but it pulled up something else. Keep talking.
The recent news?
Yeah.
The judgment against him? So she sued him, okay?
This is saying his net worth is $12 million, but he signed a 4-year, $52.5 million contract.
Yeah. No, he made tens of millions.
With $35 million guaranteed.
Yeah, that's a lot of money.
More than I've got.
More than I've earned in my lifetime. Yeah.
Probably more than I ever will.
Sadly so.
Unlucky.
So Jada Bell filed a lawsuit against Le'Veon, her cousin. So when you file a lawsuit, a civil lawsuit for damages, which is what she did, she said that she had been sexually assaulted and affected by that. That altered the course of her life, and she deserves money because of that. Okay? Mm-hmm. So when you file a lawsuit, in order to have that lawsuit go forward, you have to serve it on the person that you filed the lawsuit against. In Nevada, and I would guess Ohio, but I'm not sure, you have to have a third party, someone not affiliated with the attorney or the plaintiff, go and serve that lawsuit. So an actual paper physical copy on the person or on a relative or somebody where you know that they live, okay? So that is called process servers and proof of service, okay? They
Pineapple
have proof.
Express.
Like Pineapple Express, who dresses up in a weird way every time. We have an awesome girl who does our service for
Does
our
she
office.
have outfits and drive around smoking joints?
I don't know. We should have her on and have some stories. That's a person we should
Yeah.
have on. Put that note on. Let's have Brittany on.
Get her
But-
to tell us about joint smoking.
Yeah, she's. I've had process servers come by my house trying to find somebody that wasn't there and had a gun like on his hip and like trying to be real aggressive and tough. Different process servers have different kind of strategies. Ours is a really nice girl. I think they don't think that she's coming to serve papers on them, and then she serves them. So you hire a process server to go serve physical copies, boom, with that person. Okay, actually dropping it with them. You can do it at a guard gate as one of the exceptions in Nevada law. If you do all reasonable efforts to try and serve somebody and you can't for whatever reason, you can serve it by publication, so you can put it in the news, okay, in a newsletter about this.
I'm
Something-
listening, but I'm reading some of the quotes from Le'Veon Bell recently.
Yeah, he's
Holy shit.
Yeah. Okay, we'll get there.
CTE is real, bro.
Yeah, so that's
Oh my
he's a little
God.
kooky. So
No, I'm gonna read this one. This is
okay, we will. So Jada says she effectuates service on Le'Veon and gets what's called a default. He has 21 days to answer. That's the typical amount of time, 20 or 21 days to answer the complaint. If you don't, you can get a default against a person, and then you can seek what's called a default judgment, or a judgment just because they didn't answer. So if you don't answer, we get to assume that you agree with everything the person's asking for.
Correct.
So you have a default judgment hearing. This happens all last year, but comes out in the news now. In October of last year, she gets a default judgment in the amount of $25 million, is it?
Yeah, $25 million on him and 11 point something on his brother.
$25 million on him, 11 on his brother. Okay. So she gets all these judgments. It comes out in the news through TMZ now. Oh, Le'Veon Bell has this big sex assault,
And it was never served.
and Le'Veon's attorney now is saying it's never served. I had a problem with the reporting on this because people called it a verdict. It is not a verdict.
No, it's just a judgment.
It's a judgment. Okay, there's no jury. Some people are mentioning a jury. There is never a jury. Never that I've heard a jury for default judgment. It just goes in front of the judge, and the judge gets to
All right, we got the
rubber
jury.
stamp it.
What kind of evidence? He did it. Okay.
Yeah.
Done.
So it's not in front of a jury because you're only entitled to a jury in civil cases if you actually demand them. Okay.
Yeah.
And
Well, and
there's no other party. Yeah, there's no other party to. So
Everything is tit for tat.
so there can
complaint,
be fights.
answer.
There can be fights where Le'Veon might say, "Hey, they did not serve me personally. Maybe they served by publication instead. They put it out in the news, but he never saw that. Nobody ever sees that.
But
Who's
also-
going to find that? So
Also, how do they not know where he is?
there's a dispute as to it actually being served, which is something that you can fight about, and you can quash service, and then start the case up again. So
Yep.
there
Set aside the judgment.
Is it-
Start all over.
is a possibility we could get this a very good possibility that this judgment will get set aside. But since it was in the news, Le'Veon jumped on social media yesterday and he went live and he went a little kooky. So
Shall I
tell
read?
me a little bit about it. Yeah.
On Tuesday, Le'Veon Bell went live to deny all allegations against him. In this rant, he says, quote, "Do y'all think Le'Veon Bell, do I need to force myself upon a woman? Anybody? Do I need to force myself upon them? I don't." He further added, quote, "My number is so high, thousands of women slayed by the dragon. I done slayed so many women, it's like an effing dragon, bro. I'm a dragon slayer out here," he said while continuing to deny the charges. And then he also said something about, this is a quote, "being a black man and a Trump supporter at the same time, so many people want to attack me." So he's trying to say that part of it is his political affiliation.
Oh, I didn't know he's a Trump supporter.
That's what he says
I
here.
didn't see that part. Yeah. Okay. Well,
Which, okay, I could see like, well, here is a picture of him at like a rally in a make.
wow. I had no idea.
Yep, loves himself some Donaldo Trumpez.
Okay. Well, this is just to illustrate how a case works in default judgment. You can get a default judgment against somebody if they don't answer. In fact,
so crazy.
we're seeking a default judgment against somebody in prison, a famous rapper by the name of Blueface. So
Blueface, baby.
Blueface, yeah. Answer the complaint. Otherwise, we're going to get a big default
Actually,
judgment against
don't.
you. Yeah, I guess
Please
so.
don't, because we know where you are and we'll serve you. Job done.
He's in prison.
We have his address.
He's in prison. Yeah, he's in the California system as well. Talking about that.
CDOC.
Yes. So, just an interesting story that comes out and a lot of misinformation. So we're just trying to,
Well, that's the
correct the record.
Bigger thing with all these is like you get a news article who says verdict, and I don't think that they're intentionally trying to mislead people. Maybe they don't understand
it's just their understanding. Yeah.
or it's like a clickbait thing. But when your words matter, right? So judgment versus verdict. When you see verdict, you're like, shit, like that means they went to a trial and they won.
Yes.
No, it turns out it was a default, and it also turns out that maybe they didn't even bother to tell him. Which, if you're not served, you will end up having to fight about it later. But if they don't serve you, you don't have to do anything. As a defendant, it's not your job to do the plaintiff's job for them and say, "Hey, I was never served. Maybe you guys want to serve me." Now, there are certain instances where, like, let's say an insurance company is representing from the legal side for a defendant in a car crash case like the ones we have. Some adjusters will say, "Hey, we got your letter of representation." You can talk to them and you say, "Hey, we're going to file on this. Will you accept service?" Not often, 10, 15% of the time, they're like, "Yeah, sure, just send it to us and we'll accept service on their behalf," just to kind of speed things along. Most of the time, they won't do that. They want you to go through the trouble because you never know.
And you never want to, like, typically we don't want to tip people off that we're going to serve them because then they know to avoid service.
Yeah.
And it makes the process a little bit harder. And then you have to do that publication, which you pay for every step of the way.
You can do it. There's something with the DMV here.
That's only for drivers, yeah, but not for any other kind of suits.
Sure.
So, and I don't know.
And
Ohio
then corporations
versus
have
Nevada.
registered agents. And
Yes.
so it's like easier because a corporation has a person who has to accept it. And it's usually like a law firm or an accountant or something like that. And it's like if you go there between 8 and 5 and there's someone at the desk, it doesn't matter if it's a secretary or if it's the guy whose building it is and whose company it is. And here, your client has been served.
That's
Or
the
sorry, the
easiest way.
person that you're the agent for has been served.
Yes,
Yes.
or business or whatever.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's how it goes. This will probably get set aside, is what I'm going to guess. They'll probably fight about this a little bit more. And
How much do you think that screws it up, though? That like they get this default for this amount of money, then it goes into the news. So whatever potential jury you've got.
And that's how you rehab jurors to see if they've heard about this at all, right?
Yeah.
The accusations, which
Up until today, I didn't. So
could be a good or bad thing. They could be, oh, this lady's seeking all this money from him, or they could see, oh, this case is worth that amount of money. It could cut either way.
Interesting wrinkle here is certain states have a statute of limitations for civil cases X number of years beyond when they reach the age of majority, and the age of majority is 18.
Yeah.
So she's saying this happened when she was 5. Kansas, for example, it used to be 10 years, but they just changed it within like the last 2 years, 18 months, where it's either lifetime or it's like 20 years for your statute of limitations on civil cases against somebody who for SA cases. So
in civil cases.
In civil. Also,
Okay.
the statute of limitations changed for the criminal side too. post Me Too, a bunch of other stuff that's been coming out. So the real question is, what if they screwed it up? Let's say she just turned 28, and let's say Ohio has a 10-year statute of limitations. See ya.
Oh, okay. And
Job done.
They fudged the service information, huh? Oh, yeah, we really looked for him by doing this, this, and this.
Oh,
but
did you?
Yeah, we just couldn't find him.
You couldn't. The guy who's at Trump rallies on the news?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Well,
Okay. It's just an interesting thing. It's possible that, you see that stuff where somebody makes an
and
error.
that's going to be a fight, I'm sure, about the setting aside the default judgment.
But if that happens, then it gets you into another thing. Malpractice.
Yeah.
If you had an attorney and they do that.
And they don't file in time.
Yeah.
Yep. That's
And
true,
then
too.
then you got an insurance carrier who's on the hook. So it doesn't matter if his net worth is only $12 million. You get to sue, whoever.
True.
Through the attorney, which is interesting.
Attorneys suing attorneys. Man, where does it stop? Where does it stop? All right, this
Can't we all just get along?
This is local criminal news. Okay, local criminal news. Austin is hooking this one up.
Austin committed a crime?
No, Austin didn't do anything. A lady by the name of Victoria Goodwin has been arrested and held.
Oh, he told us about the crime that he saw on the news.
He just told it. It's on the news. It's everywhere.
Yeah,
it's local. And the justice court that the case is in right now is the same justice court where you have your track. So
JC2.
You'll probably be seeing a lot of this. Just happens to be. It's an attempt murder, so that might not be on a specialty team. I don't think. Well, but it's getting media attention, so I don't know if that changes anything.
It depends. It could just be the track.
Our buddy Rob, the prosecutor,
Rob from
my
the
friend
DA's
Rob
office?
from the DA's
Oh, okay.
office,
Yeah.
he's the chief of that team now. So
Now,
maybe he's the chief over this. I don't know or not.
I mean, if it's on his team, he is. But
attempt murder, that doesn't go to the specialty murder team, does it?
well, I don't think so. Also,
Maybe-
isn't it just like a murder for hire kind of thing?
Okay, so Victoria Goodwin is married to Aaron Goodwin. Aaron Goodwin is a famous member of Ghost Hunters, the TV show. Ghost Adventures. Sorry.
Is
my
there
bad.
a ghost?
Is there a ghost? Yeah. That's different. No, don't listen to me. I don't watch these. And I definitely didn't meet a member of Ghost Adventures recently. I didn't get any information.
Offense intended, not trying to breach copyright stuff here. He's just not smart.
I'm just
Sorry.
dumb. Okay?
Yes.
Just dumb. Ghost Adventures. Victoria Goodwin and Aaron Goodwin recently married. There's, news of Victoria trying to hire somebody to murder Aaron.
Allegedly.
That is what's being alleged right now. She already has an attorney. You're not going to be her attorney, bro.
That's fine.
Just relax.
I'm not. I don't care. I don't need another attempt murder or a murder for hire. I'm good. I'm all murdered out right now,
Got plenty of murder on your mind. So,
like that rapper.
supposedly, she had reached out to an inmate in Florida, okay, who he had murdered his family to murder her husband.
Inmate, meaning he's in custody.
He was in custody when the conversation started. Okay? When the conversation started, he's in custody. Allegedly, he had been tracking these people, following Aaron, and
He got out of custody.
he's released
So,
from his prison
When
sentence.
they talked, did she call or write?
That's what's in the news about.
Because
There are conversations, and that's how.
yeah,
part
they're
of
all
it.
recorded.
Yeah. So not all the details come out to the public at first.
sure.
It's just what's in the courtroom, the detailed information to prosecute the case. And the defense doesn't reveal everything either because it usually doesn't help them. There's accusations of tons of different things. Okay. There's always like life insurance. That evidence comes out if she changed a will or attempted to change a will
Shows intent
or
stuff.
changed beneficiaries of life insurance.
Why would you pick a murderer who got caught? Why wouldn't you pick a murderer who never got caught? Because then he's not going to get caught and you're not going to get caught.
I don't know how you find these people. I don't know what dark webs people go on,
Hold on.
And a lot of these seem to
Hold
be
on. That sounds
stings,
like a made-up
right?
website.
A lot of these seem to be stings with just cops on the other line waiting to arrest you. So I don't know, like there's no publication that's going to say, hey, what's the best murder for hire website? Like, which one should I go to of the many? All right, that one looks better than this.
So there's
Do they have reviews? Are there reviews?
No, but I just Googled, is there a website for contract killers? And there's
Yeah, that didn't put you on a list.
Oh, I don't care. I'm just, we're on a podcast. It's fine. There's a Substack, How to Hire a Darknet Hitman. I'm not clicking on them. This is just Google. And then there's rentahitman.com. And then there's a New York Times article saying that you can rent a hitman on the dark web. Rent? So weird. Weird way to
Well,
put
you're not owning, right?
No, but you're hiring. It's just like
it's a lease agreement.
It's a what is it?
It's a contract.
No, it's a contract, but it's a services contract.
Yeah.
Right? Money for services.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's the same as like any other thing that you're not supposed to do that's money for services. Austin. No, you know.
All right. Here's another story that reminded me of it is Jared Britigan. I don't know if I screwed that name up. This is another Florida case because they all are, where his wife, ex-wife, had hired her tenant to murder. Okay, he completed the murder.
Oh,
and then they started looking into it, and
they investigated a murder.
Yeah, they invest. Yeah, surprise, right?
Wild.
In Florida, they just let those go. I thought because there's so many all the time.
What part of Florida?
I can't remember where this was.
Like a city though.
I'd have to look it up. Yeah, it's not.
Okay.
It's not in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
And so they had paid this tenant like checks, like, hey, cleaning up our landscaping, $5,000, and like had put notes on the checks instead of just dealing with cash. So there were like 3 different checks where it's like landscape cleaning. Like,
Plus $5,000 is under the threshold. They're not going to notice anyway.
yeah, and then they
They
said
being the IRS.
they did another one of like for $2,000 or $3,000 of like rent return or something like that, where it was like, this is kind of weird. So they did a whole investigation of it and then realized, okay, yeah, ex-wife had hired this guy to complete the murder. So they're both facing murder charges. I would never give a suggestion to somebody of how to hire somebody to do a murder, but
Probably don't leave a paper trail.
don't leave a paper trail.
That's any crime.
No checks.
No
Cash.
checks. Cash
Deal
is
with
king.
cash. No Cash App.
Dude.
No Zelle. No
Yes.
nothing.
It's like these dumbasses that I've got for distribution.
Get
of
cash
narcotics.
out
Cash App
over months.
or Zelle.
over
and it's
months
like,
of time.
You got consistently,
Well, we have it easy here being next to a casino, right? You can take cash out and then get cash at the box. And
You're talking about if you wanted to launder your money? Sure.
not launder money, but like get thousands at a time to pay off a murder,
Yeah.
Like that'd be a lot easier. You got to plan this in advance. Okay. It's got to be months and months and months of planning.
And don't
no paper trail, no conversations. Not that we're promoting this
No,
at all.
yeah.
But we're
Austin
just
for his
giving
next
you
murder.
a legal analysis.
Yeah,
of
like here's the things
how
that,
these are successful.
that make the prosecution able to prove their case. Right?
Yes.
Whenever you create the because all it is a story, right? Any case, it's a story, and what's the goal is to satisfy elements to prove that the thing happened. Okay, with this murder, the financial breadcrumbs get them to the relationship, which gets them to the next thing. And then it's like, oh, not only do we have the conspiracy, now we have that this dude actually did it, because we start looking at him because we find the bank statements. Well, then we check his phone. Or if he's got a 2024 Camry, we check the camera on the front of the car that randomly periodically
Do
records.
you want to tell us about that?
I think we might have already talked about it. It's a bank ATM robbery that I represent a guy on. And it was pretty clever, actually. It was really, really cleverly done.
Your car might be recording you without you knowing.
But for his car having a little camera in the front that periodically took like 2-minute videos and a GPS in it that tracked it from where they rented it at, which they would have had it anyway, rented it at to here. But they were able to get my client's face from the video off the car. Otherwise, they had no clue who this dude was. They used burner phones. They had straw people to rent the hotels they were in with cash. They had, granted, there's surveillance everywhere, so there's a lot of other images. It wouldn't have been as strong without the car from the camera, sorry.
Your car might be recording you without you knowing.
Yeah, it's
That's
not awesome.
crazy. Isn't it 1984? Don't you feel like that?
Not just that, but the OnStar stuff.
It's nice to have the features, I guess.
Like, they can shut my truck off.
They could.
Like, one of the features, they pitched it to me when I was going to buy it. It was like, hey, if your truck gets stolen, you just report it, and then OnStar will find it immediately and then basically throttle it, set it to where it'll only drive 15 miles an hour.
Or the FBI could do that.
Or, if somebody looks at my search history for looking for a hitman, and they're like, oh, we're going to follow this guy or whatever, it's not great.
All right. I got another one of a kooky wife. You ready? We've talked about Lori Vallow Daybell before.
Doesn't sound familiar.
She's crazy. Okay.
Oh.
She's absolutely crazy.
Narrows it down.
We're going to talk about her more because she has a jury trial coming up, and she is a pro se litigant with standby counsel that's been appointed to her. This trial is about to be psycho. Okay.
More psycho than the guy that constantly wants jurisdiction.
Oh,
approved.
I love that. We're going to
God.
have a special episode on him. I can't remember his name right now, but
Isn't he a Savi?
yeah, he's Sovsit adjacent. So Lori is a doomsdayer. Like she thinks that she's like a prophet kind of thing. Okay.
Schizophrenic?
I don't know that she is, but just like so extremely self-absorbed. She had a Dateline episode
Real
recently.
important.
She got a 90-minute interview while she was in Phoenix Women's Jail, awaiting trial with the head guy there. He's real famous, and she just showed off the kookiness.
I'm guessing that none of that is going to be used against her.
I hope.
I did it, but I'm trying to bring back.
She was real good at avoiding all questions.
Trying to bring back the second coming of the Messiah, who will be me.
So her and her husband, Chad Daybell, okay, they both had their ex-spouses die in mysterious circumstances, okay?
Sounds like two people that came together after bad luck.
And they were both married, yes, within, a week or two after both of their spouses are dead. That wasn't enough, okay? They investigated Lori's ex-husband dying, got shot by her brother, last name Cox, just like me, Alan Cox. And he said it was in self-defense, and they didn't really pursue it any further to that point, okay? It's pretty recent, and so you have a statute of limitations of forever for a murder.
Yeah.
So Alan Cox ends up dying through natural causes, okay, surprisingly.
That's lucky for the person that
So, and then
conspired with him, because then it takes the liability away.
And then Lori's daughter, or an adopted daughter, son, something like that. They end up missing. Okay, and then real weird. They go hunting for the kids, can't find them. She gives weird stories. Oh, they're with somebody in Arizona. Now she lives up in Idaho. They finally get enough evidence together, get some warrants, find the kids, burned to death, and on their property. Okay, on Chad's property. The boy was 7. The girl was a teenager, like 14. So that happened. They get tried for that case. Burned them and choked them.
So they were dead first?
I don't know the specific details. He ends up getting the death penalty for that case.
Good.
Husband, okay.
The new husband.
New husband.
Okay.
So he's awaiting death row for his case up in Idaho. She gets extradited to Arizona to now face these charges for the murder of the ex-husband that supposedly she hired, her brother to do. Okay. So now she's facing these old charges. We talked about her a little bit before.
There was, because you said, we were talking about it, and it was like, even if they were already facing life, would you want justice for your other murder?
She's facing life. She didn't get death penalty. He did up there, but now she's in Arizona.
Okay.
Facing, these charges, and decides for whatever reason to give an interview. Maybe we'll find some clips to put in, but she's just absolutely kooky.
Are you keeping track, Keith? Can we agree on that, Keith? Can I joke with you, Keith? Can we joke? Good one, Keith. You've heard a lot of stuff, Keith, and I'm here to say you've heard a lot of stuff, but what I tell you will be the truth.
You can just see it on her, right?
She got lollipop eyes?
She does, and the way she talks is just so like, well, don't you believe me? I would never do anything like that.
No.
I just wish that we could find. So she is saying the reason that her children are dead is that her daughter had accidentally killed her son. And her daughter was so distraught, she killed herself over that. And then to protect them, they went and buried them on the property, So that is her story, her version of things. And she's maintaining that, but she just deflects all the questions and says, well, I thought you wanted to hear the proof, the real truth, Ken. I thought that's why you came today. Just real spooky.
I like your
They had
voice.
They had a motions in the eliminator hearing, is what was in the news recently. She's trying to get in her daughter's statements.
The dead daughter?
the dead daughter's statements
About what?
some stuff about the dad, it's about her ex-husband, and the judge
relevance?
the judge is really, really patient. And these judges that we see in
They
these
have
cases
to be in pro se cases.
have to be extremely. She conducts herself differently in the courtroom than she did in the interview. Man, she was real spooky in the courtroom. And so she's spouting off statutes to think that she's real smart and knows like the exceptions to hearsay.
What's her name again?
Lori Vallow, Vallow. So, and she did tell the interviewer that she knows that she's going to be acquitted.
Oh, geez, she looks
because
like
she has seen in a vision that her and her husband will be together outside of prison.
and he's on death row.
He's on death row.
She's kind of got crazy eyes, dude.
Well, and it's like one of those where she was always a bubbly personality and wanted attention. So is there something beneath the surface where it's like she just loves and craves this attention and wants people to see her, and she really wants people to like love her, and she really wants to be the prophet. So she just really wants people to listen to her and love her and have attention and people talking about her. So no matter what, this is what I'm going to do.
I love this picture of her in the back of a cop car, noticing a camera
And smile, yeah.
And it's like-
so I don't know if there's something there.
the headline is "Mom accused of killing kids," and that's the face she makes. What the fuck?
Yeah, so they dug into her, found out, her husband dying was probably
Jesus.
not just coincidence. There were some there's more evidence there that's gonna probably put her away. And her own defense is gonna be insane. We are gonna watch. We're gonna have more clips on that. That will be crazy. And then we'll bring up some more pro se litigants too. We have our listener question, which I don't think this is fair. This is just a question from Austin, something he's been trying to ask you that now he's just putting in the podcast.
Okay.
What are the legalities behind confiscating firearms from a family member that is mentally unwell and unfit to have possession of the firearms?
Who's confiscating them? Like the family member takes them?
Well, let's say a family members are trying to prevent, the unfit family member from having them. What's the method of doing that?
So, well, first off, you can't just take someone's property.
Really? The government can.
Yeah, well, that's not also cool, but they just do it. And additionally, in Nevada, before you get a gun, even if it's an individual person-to-person transfer, I think it was like 2 or 3 years ago, they changed the statute where you have to do the NFA
form.
background check at a FFL, so a gun store, Freedom, Recon, wherever. But that being said, a lot of places have like kind of quasi red flag laws. So what you can do,
So the person has to agree to the transfer, right? This unfit person.
if they're if they've got a problem and you've got the gun secured, I feel like this is one where you can violate the law, but in like with a lowercase v. So I take the guns, I immediately call the cops and be like, hey, this is what's going on. They haven't hurt anybody. I'm just concerned. I've got the firearms secured. I don't want any trouble. I'm not trying to, steal from them. I'm letting you know. I'm not trying to, take them in any other sort of way. But you're going to have to get some sort of enforcement involved. Otherwise, it could blow up in your face.
So
figuratively and literally.
Is it getting guardianship over that person or what is it?
Oh, I mean, I honestly don't know. I've never dealt with this. I just know that like if you just take them, that's theft. And if you go to a gun store, they're going to need the person to sign off on the transfer. They're not going to be able to just do it themselves. And typically, at least the ones where I've done, where I take a transfer for a while and then I transfer it back, I have to go as the transfer or go to the gun store with the guns and say, here's these, the transferee's coming in. Take them. And then they run the numbers. But I would definitely get law enforcement involved once you have them secured. Also, if it's a situation where they're not a danger, less of an issue. It's just like, hey, they're getting old or they shouldn't be having them, versus if there's some kind of instability. Because also always err on the side of caution. Like if this person's a nut, right, and they might do like a Columbine or something, take the fucking guns. No one's ever gonna fault you for preventing something like that, especially here.
And since Austin's question is, not generic and more specific, what if it's somebody just in their old age, just kind of losing their mind? Let's say they are diagnosed with Alzheimer's or not, either way, but you can tell that person's mind is slipping away.
Sure.
What then?
That's another weird one, man, because with anything else, you just hide the car keys, right? But I'm talking
Put
about others.
put them in a safe and
Put them in a safe
and
hope
don't
that they
give the code.
forget about them, you know? There's a lot of things you can do that are less than that, right? Obviously, the police example is just for somebody who there's a problem, right? If it's an old person, just out of sight, out of mind, they'll forget about them. And if they ask, I don't know, maybe they're over there. This is just life stuff, though. This isn't legal. It's just like, how would you handle that person if they were looking for, the car keys or a butcher knife and they really only need a butter knife? Like, what would you tell your kid? Oh, I don't know where it's at. Why don't you use this? Same kind of thing.
Yeah. So do you know how they pass down in wills? Like, how do guns pass down in wills? How do you do transfers there?
With a will, you still are going to have to do the background, but you'd probably need the document, the death certificate, right? The will itself, the death certificate, and you're going to have the executor, or if it's a small estate, well, you'd still need the executor, whoever it is. Power of attorney would work.
Power of attorney would always work. Yeah.
And you're going to have to do the same stuff.
But you need a person to sign a power.
You're going to have to go to the FFL and you do the transfer that way. But again, we're talking about like a really weird.
Yeah.
I'm speculating here based on what I know about
other
guns
all the time.
Sure.
Right. So
in Nevada though, if you get them in a will or like intestate succession, when you don't have a will and the state makes the will for you, you still have to do the transfer. It's not like you get around that just because it's not a person.
But you bring in the sufficient documents, and the FFL dealer should know how to submit those. To
I guarantee
the state.
this is not
the first time it's happened.
No.
So go to a reputable gun store.
Yeah, and actually, that's probably the best way to do it. Go in there and ask them.
Yeah, hey,
like,
what do I
this
need?
happened. What do I need to do? And they'll be like, oh, A, B, and C. They'll give you whatever documents you need, and they're a lot faster than government organizations like the DMV.
Really? All right. Well, thanks for listening to another episode of Tangled Rights. We're here for your legal needs. If you need to hire us for criminal cases in the state of Nevada, sometimes in Kansas,
and some of your illegal needs.
And they didn't do it.
Free my boy. Didn't do nothing.
Peace.